Near and dear to every mother's heart. Imagine for a moment this scene. It's dinner time. You've worked really hard on the meal. You want it to be nice, but your toddler just won't cooperate. She plays with her food, throws it away, shoves it aside, or just ignores it. What is a mother to do? Joining us this morning with very practical advice on getting toddlers to eat is Dr. Christopher Green. He's been called the Dr. Spock from Down Under, and he's Australia's best-loved pediatrician. Also joining to help in our demonstration is 14-month-old Lori Allen. And we hope Lori's brought her appetite along as we show you some toddler feeding do's and don'ts. We also invite your calls. If you're having trouble going a little crazy about feeding your toddler, if you have a secret feeding method you'd like to share, give us a call, won't you? 931-1950. Good morning, Chris. You've asked me to call you. Chris, how are you?
Yes, though I'm from Australia, I talk with an Irish accent, so I'm an Irish Australian.
Are you? Are you originally from Ireland?
Yes, indeed. I had to go to Australia where I'd have rusted away in the wet in Ireland.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Penelope Leach, who you probably know, is a colleague of yours from the British Isles. She has advice that most Americans are beginning to adopt, which is don't get yourself so crazy over feeding habits. You know, toddlers will do their own thing as long as they get certain basic groups. Do you agree?
Yes, well, we take it all far too seriously. I mean, people are worrying about, you know, does he get so many kilojoules or calories of this and how many vitamins is he getting? And effectively, really, if it's reasonably balanced, they're going to get far better food than 90% of the rest of the world. I mean, it's nearly obscene the way we worry so much in countries like this about our feeding.
And we do. I mean, I actually admit I feel better when my child is eating. I don't feel so good. It just bothers me a lot. Most mothers are the same.
And we fight over food and we get nowhere. I mean, the thing to remember is no child has ever starved to death through stubbornness. And I actually said that recently in Australia, and a mother said, Dr. Green, you're wrong. My child once went for 12 hours without food, and if I hadn't forced him to eat, he'd have definitely starved to death. And I said, well, do you know how long it takes the average hunger striker to die? And she said, no, I don't. Well, it's about 68 days. Do you mean to say that you recommend 68 days between feeding children? And the dietitian who was beside me was up on his feet in a minute, and he said, that's not what Dr. Green is saying. He's saying, if you're really worried, how about giving him a call on the morning of the 20th day?
Well, all right, but you know, none of us are really ready to accept that. We just hear too much about health food these days, and pure food, and brain food, and all the proteins. How will Lori Allen get enough protein at 14 months of age, and enough of what she needs? What does she need to eat?
Well, she's going to do very nicely. She's going to be drinking a good deal of milk, and milk, of course, has got all those good proteins and other things in it. She's also
stuffing those pretzels in it, isn't she?
She's doing nicely on cheese, and actually cheese is probably one of the most popular foods, certainly in 2-year-old. We did a poll recently, and number 2 equal is cheese and chocolate, a long way behind number 1.
In their taste likes,
yes,
their likes.
Number 1, believe it or not, is ice cream. It's a long way ahead.
I would believe that. It is for most adults, too. Now, on this tray, there's a banana, blueberries, pretzels, cheese, and green beans. Obviously, she went for the pretzels first. That's because of the salt? Because a lot of parents believe that even like canned green beans, that children will eat them for the sodium rather than the green bean.
Well, she's got the savoury taste here, but I can tell you, if it was portable food, a lot of children who don't eat very well, we allow them to eat on the hoof, you know. They wander around with a cracker and cheese or a banana. Banana's great because you can walk around, you can poke the dog, you know, and then have a nibble or, you know.
Oh, please. Yeah, okay.
It's so portable. And cold sausages, that's another one, you know, poke and eat.
You mean a cold sausage, meaning in this country a hot dog?
Yes, something that. They love that sort of thing. Portable food is great.
Portable food's great, but let me tell you that a lot of worry for mothers is choking. And we know that grapes and hot dogs in this country are the #1 offenders. I think because children eat so many of them, that's why they're high up on the statistic. You really shouldn't leave your child ever unsupervised at this age eating, should you?
No. Well, this is very young, just because we're just over a year here. Right. Most of the ones who are actually doing the portable food are a little bit older. And that's when they're at that thing.
How is her choking reflex right now? I mean, her gagging reflex, so that she can help herself if, God forbid, she starts to choke. Does that help?
It's pretty good, but the things you want to be careful about are the very small things like peanuts and those sorts of things. And toys, you know, little beans and beads that come from toys, those are the ones that are the real culprits. But can I tell you something about forcing? Can you think, all these parents saying, eat up your food, eat up your food. If you were to imagine going to a restaurant, the food's put down in front of you, and just as you're about to start eating it, the waiter comes up and says, just one thing, Eileen, you're not going home till you've finished
Thank
every
you.
bite. I mean, you choke on it. And if they say, no dessert menu till your plate's clean, you'd hate it.
Well, all right, and the other thing is, we often ask our children to eat on the same schedule as we do. Is that crazy?
Well, it is crazy. I mean, all the sheep and cows graze all day. They don't eat at fixed times.
Hang on a second. I'm going to lift her up. Laurie, can you come to me? You see your mommy over there, don't you? Do you see mommy? Is that mommy? Okay. Just set her down. Let her walk. There you go, sweet girl. She's had enough. And usually they do have enough after a certain time. They want out, don't they?
Of course they do. But she's also telling you she is just over a year, and that is the peak age of clinginess. They love to be close to mummies. And people come to me and say, Dr. Green, my 13-monther keeps clinging. You know, I walk along with a child clamped to my left leg all the time. But that's normal. They are clingy.
And they
at that
outgrow
age.
that. And they also outgrow tossing their food eventually, don't they? But I think we think that we are preparing them for life as adults as they sit in this high chair, don't we? We'll teach them good manners. We'll teach them the duration of a meal. Is that
That's
wrong?
right. We try to do it, but you see, it's all been programmed. Some children are designed in the great design to be good eaters. Some are designed to be fiddlers. The fiddlers are the ones that every time the dog barks, they look over, the food's through their hair, up their nose, you know, it's all over the place. The good eaters, you know, you can't get the eye off the plate till the last bit of the pattern's away. Those, of course, will eat a beautiful balanced diet and you think you're a marvellous mother. The other ones, that's hard work.
Has nothing to do with being a good mother, does it?
It's not at all. It's the way that God made them.
Let's take a call. Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine.
What's the situation in your house? Similar to mine?
I'm a mother of four. I have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old and 4-month-old twins. My 2-year-old, when he sits at the tray, when we're all sitting at dinner and he's in the high chair, he will throw his food off onto the floor. He sits there and he looks at us. He picks the food up and just tosses it on the floor. So we take it away from him. We give him small amounts at a time. And he will eat it, but then we have a feeling that he's not really hungry, so we take him down, we let him go play. As soon as we start to eat, he wants what we're eating. And I'm confused. I don't know if he's...
Do you ever give him what you're eating, or do you give him...
Oh, yeah, he eats the same thing.
But he wants to sit now on your lap and eat it at the table, right?
Right.
I'm going through that. Same thing.
I was just, when I walked into the studio today, the first thing I saw was the high chairs here. What's underneath it? A great thick polythene sheet. So you knew what you were talking about because you've
Splat
seen
mat.
children splatting it all.
right.
And what you do is you let it go in there, and then after a week or so you hose it all down and get it all clean.
But she's worried because it's ending up on the floor, not in her child's mouth.
And what really you've got to do is a child is put on is given food is put in front of them, they eat it to a certain point. After a while they get bored and it starts throwing all over the place, and at that point you lift them and you move them away. The food gets put in the fridge, it gets reintroduced later, but you don't give them all sorts of other things. But don't keep a child locked in the high chair. Come on, eat it up, because they'll start throwing it to wind you up.
Well, they know they're winding you up, don't they?
Of course
at that
they do.
age?
And you see, if a child is sitting there and says, you put the food in front and they say, yuck, and the child, of course, is really enjoying that and looking up at you and you're having a tantrum. And, of course, if you're having a tantrum, they'll say, I'll say yuck again. And, of course, it's much more fun annoying mum than eating.
Well.
So the important thing is not to reward them for throwing stuff on the floor, saying yuck. If they eat it, that's great. They're not going to starve to death through stubbornness like the hunger striker.
Is Laurie too little to get down off the stairs, Peggy, by herself? She's all right? Okay, we'll take another call. Hope that helped. Good morning. You're on Good Day.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. I've been up since 4 feeding pickles and hot dogs to my 18-month-old.
Wait a minute. 4 o'clock wants pickles and hot dogs?
She doesn't eat. I put her in her high chair at meal times, food on the floor, you know the whole scene. 4 o'clock in the morning, she wakes up, pickles, hot dogs. Mama, pickles, hot dogs. That's all she'll eat. And she eats from like 4 o'clock, anywhere between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning. Nothing else during the day except bottles and maybe a banana or pieces of apples. I'm very worried about nutrition. She's missing a lot of vitamins. She won't eat any vegetables. And I fight with her. I sit there, please eat,
I know.
eat.
How many bottles a day?
Right now, I'd say about three to four, maybe 3.5.
That's an interesting point. How can you overload a child with milk not even realizing it?
Well, that's really what you're talking about here. The people who come to me and say, Dr. Green, my child doesn't eat anything, they're really telling me that, in fact, they're fine big children who eat plenty, but they don't eat what you want them to eat. And they're very often what we call milkaholics. I think we might have a milkaholic here. If you drink enough milk, you don't need very much solids. And I would imagine if that mum added up the amount of milk and the snacks, the bits and pieces that were taken in a day, it mightn't be a bad diet at all. We get rather too worried about
So
those
maybe
things.
dilute some of the milk or take it away and see if the solids appear. How about the fact that our children don't eat vegetables? Do they really need them?
Well, people say he doesn't eat vegetables, he just eats peas, beans and potatoes, lots of cereal like bread. You know, all the athletes are on bread now. That's good nourishing stuff. And fruit. If a child eats fruit, bread, cereal, those sorts of things, that's good enough. That's
It
fine.
is. They don't
Fine.
need the greens.
Of course they don't. No.
How about you suggest raw vegetables? But I would worry again about choking, especially at Laurie's age. You
Well,
wait until...
I don't suggest raw. The experts who write these childcare books, other than me, say what you need is a raw carrot or a bit of celery this long, and they eat it. But none of the toddlers I've ever met have read that book. They're not into that.
But you do say in the book, encourage your child to eat them without overcooking them, except you also say, I remember reading, that for a child, a green bean might be a better weapon than actually a piece of food.
Oh, but baked beans was one of the things I said, because Popeye had it all wrong. You were brought up that Popeye
Ate spinach.
And it made him big and strong. But somebody missed the decimal point when they analysed spinach. There isn't as much good as you think. And baked beans, I mean, maybe Popeye should have been blasting...
Baked beans are better?
Yes, blasting around in baked beans. You know, that's what he should have been doing.
I have no line for that, although there's one in my head. Dr. Green's baby book is the newest book. And this takes a mother and child up through the first year of life. But let me also show you this one because it's on the book stands. This is called Toddler Taming, and this is the one that I devoured as I'm at that stage. And I agree with you, moms. It makes me nuts when my child won't eat or I think is eating the wrong things. You say, and others do too, relax.
Confidence is the key. Confident parents are positive parents, and positive parents are powerful people. So relax. Don't take it so seriously.
All right, thank you very much. A little bit of good news this morning.